Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going backstage, into the world of theater prompters. You've shared some interesting sources with us. A career guide sample, interview questions, even some info on this AI tool called RoleCatcher.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique role. I mean, it blends a love for the performing arts with, nerves of steel and a meticulous eye for detail.
Exactly. And what we're doing today is we really want to help you ace that prompter interview. We'll break down the role, we'll look at those common questions, and we'll explore how RoleCatcher can help. So let's start with the basics. What does a prompter actually do?
Well, at its core, prompting is about ensuring a smooth performance,
Mhm.
by discreetly supporting actors with lines and cues if they need them. They're like the guardians of the script, making sure the dialogue flows smoothly and actors are in the right place at the right time.
It's like an invisible safety net for the whole production. And I'm looking at this career guide, and it looks like it often involves long hours, a fast-paced environment, and close collaboration with the director and stage manager.
Right. Yeah, it's a demanding role. But for those with a passion for theater, it's incredibly rewarding. And actually, what's interesting is technology is playing a much bigger role these days. It's not just whispering from the wings anymore. Prompters might be using software, digital scripts, even communication systems.
Yeah, that's where that adaptability and tech savviness that's mentioned in the job description come in. Speaking of which, let's jump into those interview questions. One that seems pretty standard is, can you explain your experience with prompting? Seems straightforward.
Uh,
But what's the best way to go about answering it?
it's all about highlighting the relevant experience and showcasing, your passion for theater. Don't just list every single production you've ever worked on. Really focus on those experiences that really demonstrate the specific skills they're looking for in the job description.
Okay, so if the job description emphasizes musicals, um, should you talk about that time you prompted that super complex opera with crazy fast dialogue?
Absolutely. I mean, that shows that you can handle, really demanding productions. Or if they're looking for strong communication skills, you might mention experience like leading workshops or training new prompters.
Got it. So tailoring your response to that specific job is key. And this is where I think RoleCatcher could be really helpful. Right.
Definitely. Yeah. RoleCatcher's AI can analyze both the job description and your CV. So it can actually identify those experiences that would be most impactful to mention. It's like having a personalized coach helping you, craft the perfect response.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Okay. Let's look at another question. How do you handle mistakes during a performance? This one's all about staying calm under pressure.
Right. Exactly. The interviewer really wants to know that you're a problem solver, not someone who's going to panic, when things inevitably go wrong. So instead of just saying you're calm and collected, share a specific example.
Like that one from the source material,
Yeah.
where the actor suddenly went totally off script and started
Mhm.
doing this passionate monologue about gardening.
That's a perfect example. Briefly describe the situation. How did you figure out the problem? And what solution did you use? Did you discreetly cue the actor? Use hand signals? Or maybe subtly guide them back to the script? The important thing is to emphasize that you stayed calm and that you minimized any disruption to the show.
And I'm guessing blaming others or downplaying the mistake is the worst thing you could do.
Oh, for sure. It's really about owning the situation and showing that you're focused on finding a solution.
Well, speaking of solutions, RoleCatcher can help with this kind of question too, right?
Yeah. You can actually practice your response with RoleCatcher. It has this AI-powered feedback feature, and it can analyze things like your tone, your pacing, your word choice to help you come across as confident and composed.
That's amazing. All right, let's tackle another tricky one. Can you explain your experience with different prompting software? Now, not every prompter even uses software. So what if you haven't used the specific program they mention? How do you handle that?
Well, honesty is always the best policy, but you can definitely frame it in a positive way. Highlight your general tech skills, your eagerness to learn new programs, and any relevant training you've had. That the interviewer is really looking for is that you're adaptable and willing to embrace new tools.
So even if you haven't used that exact software, you can still show that you're tech savvy and that you're committed to staying up to date with the latest industry trends. Which reminds me, this career guide really emphasizes the importance of continuous learning for career growth.
Yeah, that's so important, whether it's attending workshops, taking online courses, or even just staying informed about new technologies. It shows that you're dedicated to professional development.
Which is where I think RoleCatcher's library of resources could come in handy.
Definitely, yeah. RoleCatcher offers all kinds of information from skill guides to, industry trends, and it's all tailored to your specific career path. It's a great way to stay ahead of the curve and show that you're committed to ongoing learning.
Okay, let's move on to a question that seems like it would need a good story. Can you describe a time when you had to improvise during a performance? What kind of story would work well here?
This is your chance to shine. Pick a situation where something unexpected came up and you had to think fast on your feet. That gardening example is a good one.
Okay, right. You could talk about how you quickly sized up the situation, you discreetly communicated with the actor, and maybe even got them back on track without breaking character. It's all about showing off your quick thinking, your adaptability, and your composure under pressure.
Exactly. And remember, a concise and engaging story is going to be way more impactful than a long, rambling explanation. RoleCatcher can also help you refine your story and make sure it's really highlighting your skills.
Okay, so we've covered some really great questions so far, but we've got a lot more to discuss. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll dive into even more interview tips and explore how RoleCatcher can help you land that prompter job. Okay, so we're back, and we're still talking all things theater prompting. We've already gone over some pretty tough interview questions, but let's keep going. Another one that seems to come up a lot is, how do you manage your time during a performance? It seems like timing is super important in this role.
Oh, absolutely. A prompter really needs top-notch time management skills to be able to juggle all those different tasks during a performance.
Yeah.
The interviewer basically wants to know if you can stay organized, prioritize and anticipate any potential issues.
So how do you actually show those skills when you answer? Should you just say, oh, I'm a great multitasker?
Well, you could start with that, but giving specific examples is way more effective. Talk about how you stay organized during a show. Do you use a really detailed prompt book with, color-coded cues? Or do you have a specific way of prioritizing tasks? Like what's most urgent?
So you're saying it's important to show that you understand the flow of the whole performance.
Exactly. You want to prove to the interviewer that you can anticipate, what scenes and cues are coming up, not just react to problems as they happen. It shows that you're actively managing the whole rhythm of the performance, which is so important for a prompter.
And this is another area where I feel like RoleCatcher could be really helpful.
Right. Definitely. You can actually use RoleCatcher to practice your answer and get some feedback, from the AI on how to make it even better. It can even analyze things like your tone and pacing to help you sound more confident and, in control.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, let's move on to another question that seems pretty basic to the job. Can you explain your experience with cueing actors? What are they really trying to find out here?
They want to understand how you approach, this really critical part of prompting. It's not just about feeding them lines. It's about giving actors the right cues at the right time to make sure, the performance keeps flowing and has good energy.
So how do you answer this? I mean, you can't just say, oh, yeah, I've cued actors before.
Right. Instead, you should focus on your specific technique and approach. So, do you use verbal cues or hand signals or maybe a mix of both? How do you adjust your cueing style for different actors and directors? Maybe share a specific example of a time when you had to deal with a really tricky cueing situation and you handled it well.
And you also have to be really discreet.
Right.
You don't want to distract the audience with big hand gestures or anything.
Exactly. You have to be supportive, but also invisible. Like you're guiding the performance without, drawing attention to yourself.
So we've talked about support, but let's talk about building relationships with the actors. There's a question that comes up about this. How do you ensure that actors are comfortable with the prompter? This one's all about building a trusting relationship and working together.
Right. Yeah, you got it. It's super important for a prompter to have a good rapport with the actors. The interviewer wants to know that you get, the dynamics of that interaction and that you can create a safe and supportive environment.
So how do you get that across in your answer?
Well, talk about how you communicate. Do you have a collaborative approach? Do you try to really understand each actor's individual needs and preferences? Maybe you could share a story about a time you helped an actor feel, more comfortable working with a prompter.
I bet clear and respectful communication is super important here.
It's the most important thing. You're part of a team and trust is everything. So be approachable, be supportive and communicate clearly, but without being, too intrusive. Actors are already under a ton of pressure, so a good prompter needs to be someone who's calming and reassuring.
Okay, so let's switch gears for a second
Hmm.
and talk about career paths. That career guide you shared mentioned a few different ways prompters can move up in their careers.
Mhm.
What are some of the most common options?
Well, a lot of prompters move into stage management. They already have the organizational skills and knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes, so they're a natural fit. They already understand cues blocking the whole flow of the production, so it's a pretty smooth transition.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And if they have more experience and a really strong creative vision, some prompters could even become directors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not for everyone, but prompting gives you such valuable experience in, storytelling, actor dynamics, and working together in theater. It's a great stepping stone if you want to direct.
But even if someone doesn't want to be a director, there's still a lot of room to grow within the prompter role.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You could start as an entry-level prompter, helping with basic tasks and cueing during rehearsals, then move up to a junior prompter where you have more responsibility like handling the prompt book and coordinating with the stage manager. And eventually you could even become like a senior prompter who oversees the whole prompting process for really complex production.
Wow, that's quite a journey. And the career guide really stressed the importance of continuous learning to keep moving up. How can someone, keep up with industry trends and just keep getting better as a prompter?
Well, there are a lot of ways. You can attend workshops, take online courses, network with other people in the industry, and, stay informed about new technologies.
Right.
Oh, and RoleCatcher is a great resource for all of this, too.
Right. It has, a ton of information, skill guides, industry trends, and even a whole library of resources that are tailored to your specific career path.
Exactly. It's an amazing way to stay ahead of the game and show that you're committed to professional development, which is really important for any prompter who wants to succeed.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about interview questions and career paths, but before we wrap up, I want to go back to like the work environment. The career guide mentioned it can be pretty demanding. What are some of the challenges that prompters might face?
Well, the hours can be long and unpredictable. You have to meet tight deadlines, and the whole environment can be pretty high pressure. And, live theater is always unpredictable, so you have to be adaptable and able to think on your feet.
But there must be some good things about it too,
Right.
to make up for the tough stuff.
Oh, for sure. Working in the performing arts is so rewarding. You get to be part of something truly magical and work with incredibly creative people and feel the excitement of live performance.
And don't forget the satisfaction of knowing that you're a vital part of, making the story come to life,
Yeah.
even though you're behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. There's a real magic to being part of a live production, and prompters are a big part of that.
This has been such a great conversation. We've learned so much about this behind-the-scenes world, but there's still more to discover. Come back for part 3 in our deep dive, where we'll talk about the personality traits of a great prompter and go even deeper into the unique challenges and rewards of this amazing career. So welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last 2 parts, really digging into what it takes to be a theater prompter, from prepping for interviews to different career paths. But what I'm really curious about is what kind of person actually thrives in this role? It's not just about the technical stuff. It's about having the right mindset and a real love for the craft.
Yeah, for sure. All of the sources we've looked at really emphasize this mix of, artistic talent and practical skills. It's someone who can zero in on the smallest details in a script, but also stay calm and adaptable when things go wrong, which, let's be honest, happens all the time in live theater.
Right. It's like being a multitasking Zen master or something. You're the silent protector of the performance, making sure the actors feel supported but also ready to jump in at any second. It's definitely not a job for everyone.
Yeah, you gotta have a certain personality for sure. The career guide mentioned things like, being really detail-oriented, having a calm and focused attitude, being a good communicator, and of course a genuine passion for theater. It's this combo that lets a prompter not only spot potential problems, but also build a strong connection with the actors and create a really trusting environment where everyone can work together.
That makes a lot of sense. You're not just a voice in the wings. You're part of the team, supporting the actor's creative journey. And that reminds me of an interview question we talked about earlier. How do you ensure that actors are comfortable with the prompter? It goes way beyond just technical skills. It's about empathy and understanding.
Exactly. Actors are putting themselves out there when they're on stage. So knowing there's someone there to help them if they need it can be really reassuring, but also nerve-wracking. A good prompter knows how to build trust, how to communicate clearly and respectfully, and how to adjust to each actor's individual needs.
It's that human element that really matters, even in a role that most people don't even see. And speaking of human connection, let's not forget about RoleCatcher and how it can actually help you prepare for this very question.
Oh, right. You can use RoleCatcher to practice your answer,
Yeah.
and get feedback from the AI on your tone, your wording, even your overall delivery. It's like having a virtual coach to help you give a more confident and empathetic answer.
It's crazy how technology can support even the most human parts of a job. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what would you say is the biggest takeaway for someone thinking about becoming a prompter?
I think it's realizing that this isn't just a job. It's more like a calling. You have to have this unique combination of passion, skill, and dedication. If you love theater and have an eye for detail and can stay cool under pressure, then prompting might be the perfect fit.
It's a career that's often hidden from the spotlight. But as we've learned, it's a vital part of making a show come alive. And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked something new for you, our listener.
Maybe you're drawn to the challenge of being that unseen support system, the silent guardian of the script, the one who helps the actors shine on stage. If that's you, then go for it. Explore the resources we've talked about. And don't forget, with the right preparation and tools like RoleCatcher, you can step into this amazing world with confidence and make a real difference behind the scenes.
Thanks so much for joining us on this journey into the world of theater prompters. We hope you've learned a lot and maybe even discovered a whole new career path to explore.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the things that make you curious.